Hello and welcome to the Sunday Night All Things Natural Net live stream via YouTube here on the Farmacy Seeds Network. Hey, so much Jake and Kirsten Lee. Good to see you guys in the chat here. It is 9 p.m. so I'm going to go ahead and light this net right off immediately. This is KD2IIN Net Control for the Sunday Night All Things Natural Net. The Sunday Night All Things Natural Net is an amateur radio net provided to the amateur radio community via the 146.805 Overlook Mountain Amateur Radio Club repeater, and also streamed live via the Farmacy Seeds Network YouTube channel. And we talk about farming, gardening, ecology, and the like. Without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. This is KD2IIN Net Control, looking for check-ins. Hey, Gigi. How are you? Am I again? Thank you very much for the heads up. Dave, welcome to the net. K2JLV is recognized. Any further check-ins at this time, please call now. Thank you, Kirsten. Yeah, I finally got a green screen. Well, it's actually a red screen. But, you know. Alright, I think there was another station there, but it was unintelligible. Maybe try upping your power, change your antenna location, and try again. Awesome, YT. Hey, Julia. Alright, the net also recognizes KD2TQS Ken, and I did not hear the end of your comment there. We'll do one more opportunity and then we'll go ahead and start. Alrighty, no further check-ins at this time. We'll start at the top of the list. K2JLV, how are you this evening?
Good evening, CJ, and all on the net. Doing all right, thank you for asking. I'm on my way home from down Kipsey Way. I'm rolling up here. Hopefully my signal will not drop out too badly. I actually wanted to ask you some questions about citrus trees.
Oh boy.
You can go ahead and go through to the next round if you like, or I can ask those questions now.
Alright, well let's roll on down and go ahead and greet Ken, and then we'll come back to your citrus tree questions. KD2TQS, you're up. Alright, very good. That puts us back to you, Dave. K2JLV, shoot.
Alright, thank you very much. Actually have a number of questions. I'll start with the most, I guess, important question. As you well know, I have 4 separate citrus trees in the house. I have a lemon tree, a lime tree, a blood orange tree, and a key lime tree. And the question I have for you is, can they cross-pollinate? I'm getting little, what I think are the key limes, but they're yellow, so I'm curious.
Okay, so I think they can cross-pollinate, but I think that the fruit is true to the tree, although, to be honest, we are a bit outside of my actual knowledge realm here. Citrus trees aren't something I'm super familiar with, but I don't think it would affect the fruit that you would get. Which one are you getting little yellow ones on?
Well, therein lies the question. I know what some of the trees are, but there's at least 2 of them that I'm not sure what actual fruit tree they are, as they lost their labels long enough ago that I have been waiting for them to fruit so I can find out what they were. are key limes, but like I said, they are turning yellow, and I don't know if limes will turn yellow after they go past their maturity or not. But that's the conundrum that I'm under.
I don't know, Geeky, do you know anything about this? All right, very good. I personally, I'm not all that familiar with citrus trees. I mean, I have a few lemons in the greenhouse here, but I haven't done a deep dive study into citrus trees or citrus tree pollination, and I'm not even sure if limes turn yellow later. I suspect probably not, given that their ripe color is green. But you know, I could be totally wrong on that too. Have you tried running any of this through the Googler by any chance? Hey,
Sorry,
Great
my setup
Licks,
here is
Chris
not that great.
Jarvis.
I missed the last question.
I was just wondering if you had run any of these queries through the Googler by any chance.
I have not, and mostly due to lack of time. But
Yeah,
since
me
I
too,
happen to be
Geeky.
here on this net, I figured I'd pose the query and see what popped up. So I do have some research to do at some point.
Yeah, it looks like that makes two of us now, because you bring up questions that I hadn't asked yet, and now I want to know the answer as well. But you certainly reached the beyond the extent of my knowledge base, so congratulations. Yeah, I don't know. My friend Geeky, who lives down in Florida, says he thinks that limes would stay green even after ripening as well. I tend to think that that's the case because their color, their ripe color being green, I would think that they would stay green. Although, who knows? You know, I know like green peppers actually become red peppers if you let them ripen for another 20 or 30 days. So, but we'll definitely have to go back and look into that, and I'll have to confer with you later on it and see what we come up through the old Googler. I'm sure the information's out there, but you've got my curiosity up now as well. Marie Bond, hello.
All right, very good. Well, I will say that these trees were purchased as cuttings from a roadside stand. Therefore, their genealogy is dubious at best. And these are also the first year that they have produced any amount of sizable fruit. So it's possible that this first year of fruit might be different than the actual fruit you're supposed to get. So it's a conundrum, like I said.
Okay, well, what I can say is if they were taken as cuttings from another plant, then they're definitely going to breed true to whatever they were cut from. That's basically scion propagation, and that's exact genetic replicate of the mother plant. Now, if they were crossed with another plant through pollination, the resultant seed might give you any sort of anything. It would probably be a cross between the two. I'm pretty sure citrus trees carry their traits through pretty reliably, whereas like if you take two apple trees and you cross them, you might get an apple that's entirely different. In fact, the chances are really good that you'll get an apple that is entirely different than either of the parent plants. But it's definitely interesting question we'll have to look into. Now, I know like the Meyer lemon tree that I have here is actually a cross between between a lemon tree and an orange. And I think what they did for that was they took a lemon tree and an orange tree, and they crossed them, and then they back crossed the resultant progeny from that to another lemon tree to reinforce the lemon traits. And I know we do quite a bit of that in selective breeding, so that might provide some insight into it. Anyway, let's roll on down the list to KD2 TQS Ken, and we'll see what's going on with Ken, and then we'll look for further check-ins. This is KD2 IIN Net Control for the Sunday night All Things Natural Net.
TQS, three guesses what's going on. But I can't say it's bad for it. Nice and clear, lots of twinkles up there. Other than that. Two things. One, all citrus are basically the same plant. The only difference between orange, lemon, or lime, they are a subspecies. So I don't know them, but I concur with you that they probably can cross-pollinate because they're all subspecies and very, very closely related. Drop.
I agree with that.
Also, I do have first-hand experience getting some lemons that are about the size of a one observation that I can offer, which is
interesting.
100%. I'll leave it at that. I'm just sitting here looking at the stars, so feel free to give Dave as much time as he wants. JD2, TQS, back to now.
All right, very good. Well, thanks for sharing your experience thus far with them. And the citrus are all pretty much similar. Like you said, they're each just subspecies. Basically, they're just selected. They're either naturally selected or specifically selected out from the main species, and then you can go in different directions based on phenotype and genotype and pick out whether you want a grapefruit, an orange, a lime, a lemon, whatever. Really interesting group of plants for sure. Let's roll on down and see if there's any further check-ins, and then we'll roll back to Dave. This is KD2 IIN Net Control for the Sunday Night All Things Natural Net. Looking for any further check-ins for the Sunday Night All Things Natural Net, please call now.
This is KD2 RFI.
There's Bob. And the net recognizes KD2 RFI. Bob, how are you this evening?
Good evening, TJ. Doing well.
You have YT.
Everyone else
Okay.
out there. I heard
Thank
you
you.
talking about trees. I figured chime in. I got here a little bit late, so missed the initial check-in. So I got a kind of a brief question about trees, I guess, whenever you're ready.
All right, very good. Let's just make sure there's no more check-ins at this time, and then we'll come back to you, and you can fire your question. And also, I do have a comment here in the YouTube chat from my friend YTFP Chris. He says he has seen yellow on limes before, so it's a possibility they might be limes that are actually overripe. Anyway, let's just take one more pause for check-ins. This is KD2 IIN Net Control for the Sunday Night All Things Natural Net. If there's any further check-ins, please call now. Blah, 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 blah. All right, no further check-ins recognized at this time. Let's go back to Bob. KD2 RFI. Shoot.
Hey, KD2 RFI. I know about 4 years ago.
Could be Kirsten.
Going to Adams there in Kingston, and they're known for their products. They're very good products, and I've had good luck with them. And they look like they're doing well. We planted 3 trees. I believe it's 2 apples and a peach tree. I forget exactly what specific variety they are, but I was kind of expecting them to bear fruit after 2 or 3 years, and now we're past the 4-year mark, and I don't even think they flowered this year. They flowered last year and looked like they started to possibly develop a little fruit on them, but nothing actually produced. And this year, I think the one tree definitely bloomed, if I recall properly. And but yeah, we've had no fruit after it. And I just figured once it bloomed, I should start seeing some sort of fruit or something, even if it's young juvenile fruit or immature the first year or 2 or whatnot.
Hey, Les.
And I just figured after 4 years something might be showing. How long before I can expect to possibly see fruit off the trees? Generally speaking, not knowing the exact variety that I had purchased.
Well, let's see. It's somewhat variety dependent, and also depends on the nutrition available to the tree, the amount of sun it gets, basically the environment that tree is growing in. I don't know how big these trees are, but usually I think it's at least 5 years before you see any kind of fruit showing up. And if your nutrition is deficient, you could get blossoms in the spring and see a fruit start to develop, and then you'll see it abort and fall off because the tree just can't support it. But I would not say you're into a realm of concern yet, I guess is what I would say. What are the environmental conditions they're in? How much sunlight do they get in the day? What have you done for nutrition, that sort of thing? Okay.
I was using fertilizer for the first few years. Miracle Grow mixed with water or whatnot, generic chemical fertilizer or whatnot for the first couple of years.
Thank you,
probably
YT.
once a week, diluted in 5-gallon pail of water and feeding them in that way. This year I haven't done anything. They're bearing leaves, they look healthy.
Oh no, put it back, YT.
Trees, gotta be, the peach trees,
That's okay.
gotta be about 10 feet tall now. It's really doing really well. Seems really strong.
Yellow until fully ripe. Yeah. Oh, that's what it probably is then. All right, very good. Okay, so you're in a clay soil. It sounds like you're in good sun and good soil overall. One thing you might do in the springtime, if you want to give them a little more help, is put down some calcium sulfate around them. And I'd have to look back and see what the rate is on that, but it shouldn't take a whole lot. But that will help flocculate that clay soil, and in doing so, it'll help improve the structure of the soil, and it'll provide a little bit of calcium and sulfur. Calcium and sulfur are essential for all plant cell building operations. It goes back to that biochemical sequence of nutrition in plants. And the other thing that will do in flocculating the clay soil is it'll release some of the nutrients that are locked up in the clay matrix, or locked up in the clay colloid. So those are some thoughts on that. Let's come back around to this. Want to do one more opportunity for check-ins, and then I want to roll back up to Dave and make sure we haven't lost him in the mobile mix. This is KD2 Net Control. Looking for any further check-ins, please call now.
W2 RWS, good evening.
All right, then it recognizes W2 RWS. Rob, how are you this evening?
Good evening.
thank
Nothing to
you,
contribute. I just was tuning in. I just wanted to say hi.
All right, very good. Well, we'll pick you up on the next rotation then. Welcome to the Sunday Night All Things Natural Net. I'm glad you made it. Let's roll back to the top of the list here to with K2JLV. Thank you so much, Kristen. That's awesome.
All right, thank you very much, CJ, and good evening to all the new participants in the net. Okay, well,
Hey, Justin.
About the limes over-ripening into yellow, which certainly is a possibility. Like I said, this is the first year of any amount of
Thanks,
fruit
YT,
that
for
I
that
can
info.
actually call fruit. Up until this time, they've blossomed and created very small fruit, maybe the size of I don't know, hard to even, within like I would say less than a centimeter, quarter inch, something like that. And then this year they've actually grown real fruit. And I'm concerned that I might actually have a weird watering issue there with the citrus trees, as they can be a little bit tricky to get the watering just right. So I guess I'll have to cut into a couple of those lemons for now and see what goes on with them. I know it's easy to tell with lemons when they become ripe, but that was going to be my second question: is how do you tell with a lime when it actually becomes ripe?
Thank you so much, YT. I have that information from you.
Stay green. So,
All right, well, your question is timed so perfectly because we have a comment here from my friend YTFP Chris on the YouTube chat. And he says, limes are yellow until they're fully ripe, with the exception of the key lime, which is different. The key lime is usually picked while it is green, but it becomes yellow when ripe. So it's probable that those are just unripe, unless it's the key lime, in which case it's backwards. But supposedly if they get overripe, well, obviously if they get overripe, they'll be much sweeter. So it's not necessarily a bad thing.
okay, very good. Thank you for that. Interesting that they turn yellow. So maybe that's normal. And then the second question, of course, is I do have a regular lime tree there, I think. And how do you tell when a regular lime is ripe? As it starts off green and stays green. Maybe it turns a darker green? I don't know.
My guess is most of the citrus fruits that I've seen start off, they start off green and then they'll ripen out. But I'm not sure of this, but I would say the lime probably will turn to a green color as it ripens if it's not ripe yet. How long have they been on the plant, out of curiosity? And are they still getting good sunlight? And what is your watering regimen? KD2 and the control. Hey, Vinny Barbarino.
Will be in the net for return.
Good to see you.
They have the key limes, if they are key limes, have been on the plant. I would say probably for getting near a month. It's been a weird year, especially being outside with all the dryness we've had. So things are moving slowly. The current watering and living conditions of the plant is they get watered about once a week, depending on their soil moisture level, and they are in south and east facing windows, so they get fairly decent sunlight, especially with the leaves off. But of course, the sun is lower, less time, etc., so they are doing what they're doing.
All right, well, that sounds like a pretty good care program from what I can tell. And yeah, I don't know, just be patient, I guess, is what I would say. I know with my Meyer lemon, that puts on lemons. I mean, I think it put lemons on back in like August, or maybe even might have been end of July. It might have been early September, but it was quite a while ago. And I just got one ripe lemon off for my mom's birthday, early September. And just picked another one recently, and they're starting to ripen now, but it's slow. So be patient, I guess, is what I would say. Sometimes it just takes time. So basically, I guess my point is that having only been on for a month, I wouldn't be too concerned yet. But like you said, the only way to really tell is to pick one and cut it and see. But I think I would wait a little bit longer, be patient with them, give them a little more time.
All right, very good. And thank you
good,
for the
Les.
advice coming in
You'll like
over
that.
YouTube. Appreciate that as well. Love the fact that we're doing dual modes here, so to speak. K2JLV, back to net.
Yes. Simulcasting has become the thing of the future. All right, well, let's roll on down the list here. We'll pick up KD2TQS. Ken, this is KD2IIN, net control for the Sunday night, all things natural net.
One question that pops to mind for RFI is, are his trees monoecious or dioecious? Do they have proper pollination? That's why they may not be there. Other possibilities, but nothing further. Stars still look nice, so I can go back to that. Everybody else, back to this.
You make an interesting observation about that, Ken. Yeah, I'm pretty sure apple trees are self-fertile, but they may be similar to blueberries in where, like blueberries, if you have one variety, they'll produce a certain amount of flowers and berries, but if you have multiple different varieties, you'll get a much higher yield. So that's a possibility as well. Well, let's find out from Bob, KD2RFI. Excuse me.
KD2RFI. I missed the first half of his question there. In the second half regarding, I think I came in kind of weak.
The Raven
hearing him.
So I'll do that.
Hey,
Mercury, welcome.
I think he said in the area, and I definitely got enough pollination and enough pollinators. As far as the type of trees, whether or not they're self-pollinating, I believe the apples are self-pollinators, but I'm unsure of the peach trees. I'm not too sure on that. KD2RFI, back to that.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know a whole lot about beech trees from a from a growing them standpoint, I know a little bit more about them from a firewood and harvesting standpoint. I know how hard that wood can be, but I don't. It sounds like you have like a nut producing variety. And I think there are wild varieties that don't produce nuts or don't produce nuts that are as big. But I don't know all that much about them. But yeah, you might look into that and see if if they need another beech tree around in order to properly pollinate. That might be a limiting factor in it. But the apples, I'm pretty sure the apples are self-fertile, and I would expect them to be okay. But just be aware that if they're still young, it may take a couple years for them to get established and really get going. Let's roll on down the list here to Rob, W2RWS, and then after that we'll do another opportunity for check-ins. Rob, pick it up. Portable Tree, welcome. W2RWS, Rob, pick it up if you're there. Yeah, Mercury, glad you made it over here. Thank you. Alright, I guess Rob disappeared or got sidetracked. Alright, this is KD2 Net Control for the Sunday night All Things Natural Net. Are there any further check-ins? Please call now. Okay, Les, I'll forward that to him. Alright, no further check-ins recognized at this time, and I do have a comment here from the YouTube chat from Les Hintz. He says, actually, apple trees need a female tree to help produce more apples than if they were by themselves. So it sounds like they're very similar to blueberries in that way. But I think you said you had two, Bob, so I would think that you would be okay as long as they both start flowering. Again, I think, given you've only had them for, I think, 3 or 4 years, you said, they're probably still just young and just haven't really developed into mature flowering trees yet. Anyway, let's roll back to the top list here to K2JLV.
All right, thank you again for the opportunity.
Thank you, Les. Appreciate that.
Given Bob's young trees there, that apple trees last for many, many, many decades.
Yeah, they do.
They might be a little slow to start, but I'm sure they will come on soon enough. And as far as my fruit trees, I think I'm just going to go ahead and be patient as you suggest. And I want to once again thank everyone, including the YouTube chatters, for their information.
Thank you, Kiki.
And at this time, I'm just about home, so I'm going to secure from the net, but I'm glad to make it tonight. And I hope,
they're both apple varieties, actually.
KTGLV, back to net.
All right, very good. Glad to have had you along for the net. And one last comment here from the YouTube channel, and reminds me that I had forgotten this. Apparently, let's see, my Geeky Garden says, I've seen some folks on YouTube that plant crab apples near their apples to help with pollination. And then Portable Tree says, apparently having a crab apple tree helps because they are male and female. So if you have a crab apple around, that might work. And if you don't, Bob, I have crab apples here, and I could definitely give you some seeds, and we might even be able to find another crab apple around we could dig up and give you a boost in pollination capability. Anyway, good evening, K2JLV. Hope you have a good evening. Thanks for checking into the net, and we're going to roll on down to Ken, KD2TQS.
I have noticed that one star directly above me has shifted exactly 7 1/4 degrees in the past half hour I've been on the net. That's all. Back to
that. Well, thank you for your accurate reading off of your, is it a sextant? I think that's for sun, though, right? I forget what the moon one is. But a very good, Ken. I always appreciate having you along for the net. Let's roll back on down to Bob, KD2RFI. Have we provided any insight for you?
KD2RFI, yeah.
I have no idea, Marie.
I'll probably definitely take you up on that. I got that big old field, and I'm definitely looking to plant more trees. I've been wanting to do a couple trees every year, and I just started off with good intentions. I got 3 in, and then probably stopped with other projects. It's been sitting there for years, a lot of rot and logs and everything else adding to the soil content, and some really nice thick black soil. You get down about 8 inches, it's all clay, but that's all right, it'll all mix in. So I definitely got that going. So we'll be looking at building a garden hopefully next few weeks, and get everything up and running. As far as the apple trees, I know there are apple trees around, so whether or not they get pollinated this far from my property to somebody else's property, I don't know, but it's good to know about the crab apple and the male-female, which I think I've heard about at one point, but didn't even give it a second thought.
Same.
So definitely, we'll keep looking out for them and get some calcium on them next year, especially when I do the garden, and hopefully get everything up and running. All right, I appreciate it, KD2R5 back then.
All right, very good. Well, glad to have been some assistance for you. And yeah, I have crab apples here. We could certainly pick a bunch of crab apples, and you could plunk a bunch of them in. They actually make a really awesome jelly too. And I have to say, you're in the pole position as far as pollination on apple trees. They can be pollinated quite a ways away, and it's done primarily through pollinators. Many of them, which we use today, are honeybees. So given that you have a quite a large and extensive apiary there, I have no doubt your honeybees will be trading pollen for those trees for you. So shouldn't be a problem if you can get them flowering. And yeah, on the calcium, remind me next spring when you get ready to do it. It's calcium sulfate, also known as gypsum, just in case you forget. You don't want to put lime down, you want to put calcium sulfate down. Big difference in soil, in action in the soil, put it that way. All right, let's roll on down and see if W2RWS is returned. Rob, W2RWS, pick it up.
Hey, I'm back. Sorry, my wife said, "You gotta walk the dog." So I just walked the dog. I just got back. Again, nothing to report. I'm dragging some coax through the house. This antenna, how's my signal sound? Went out the window. Drilled a hole through the wall. I got to weatherproof that. That's my project for this evening.
Sounds pretty good. Sounds pretty good. My throat is so dry tonight.
That's it.
All right, very good. Well, good luck dragging your coax and setting up and air tightening up for the winter. Yeah, definitely late start on that this year with the 70-degree weather with the sun out. Man, it's been just spectacular lately. Hold on a sec. All right, this is KD2IIN Net Control for the Sunday Night All Things Natural Net. If there are any further check-ins, please call now. Within 100 meters, okay. Yes, watering helps. Good tip, Les. All right, no further check-ins recognized at this time. Let's see, K2GLV is checked out, so we're back to KD2 TQS. Ken.
TQS. Not sure if it's a half or 3/4 of a degree, but there is still movement. Back to
All right, very good. And I do have a comment for you, Bob, here from Les Hintz. He says, I would also suggest watering the apple trees if the year is drier than usual. That helps them produce more flowers, and I'll second that. Yeah, hydrate. And he says hydrate for him, hydrate, because I'm over here coughing. I've been drinking my water, but I think I just got a dry spot in my throat or something. Anyway, let's roll on down to Bob, KD2 RFI.
KD2RFI. Ken, I appreciate it. Thanks for the update. The world's still turning regardless, so I appreciate it. Yeah, definitely hydrating. That's one thing I failed
Good
to do
thought,
this year.
portable tree.
I did not water the trees, and I probably should have.
Yeah, they definitely could use it.
So, well, whatever. It's we go on to next year and wash, rinse, repeat, I guess. Learn from mistakes, move forward. So just to clarify as well, it's going to be the calcium sulfate for the garden, lime for the bodies. A little confused though, if I bury the bodies in the garden, would that affect, well, I guess that's a topic for another discussion. All right, I appreciate it. KD2 R5, back to that.
bodies? I don't know what you're talking about. Yeah, calcium sulfate. And there was something else I was going to say about that. Somebody had a comment here too. Portable Tree says within 100 meters with crabapple to ensure pollination. Although I would imagine, given the range of bees, you probably can extend that quite a bit. But obviously, the closer the proximity, the higher the likelihood. Yeah, calcium sulfate and yeah, water. I wanted to water my apple tree more this year, but I just couldn't divert water from all the other annual crops that I had in, so it had to fall off, and that worked out okay because that last cold frost we had at the end of whatever it was, May or end of April, I don't know, there was a cold snap there that basically wiped out most of the flowers in that tree, and there was only a few apples on it anyway, so I just opted to divert all my water and energy other directions. Also have a comment here from YTFP Chris. I guess if you wanted to DIY it, you could collect chicken eggs and add sulfuric acid and make calcium sulfate. And yeah, you probably could, but eggshells to be more clear, he says, and calcium carbonate. Yeah, you could, but gypsum is pretty cheap, so I guess that's that. Let's roll back on down to Rob, W2RWS. I meant to ask Bob how he's doing, healing up. Rocks or wood chips. I like the wood chips because you're feeding the fungal community, but we should get back to that. Alright, looks like Rob's in the middle of dragging coax again. Let's just do one more opportunity for check-ins here. This is KD2IIN, Net Control for the Sunday Night All Things Natural Net. If there are any further check-ins, please call now. Alright, no further check-ins at this time. And let's see, we have a couple of comments here. Let's see. I think it was Portable Tree says, Les, I've been told to put rocks down as mulch to retain water and keep weeds away from trunks of trees. And Les says, yep, that works, Portable. I prefer to use rocks over wood chips because they decompose. They can raise the temp of the soil and could potentially damage roots. Yeah, and so you could put down wood chips. I would say you want hardwood chips if you're going to do any kind of mulching under them. And they should be preferably hardwood chips of the ramial wood chip type, which means wood chips taken from trees and branches that are 2 inches in diameter or less, because there's a little bit different carbon to nitrogen ratio there. And I would say, I mean, the rocks will work to keep water away from the trunks. I really like the wood chips because that really promotes that fungal community, and that's a big part of that connection to the soil. And if you want to learn more about that, Bob, actually there's an excellent podcast with I'm trying to think of the guy's name. It's Biodynamics Now, and I think it's Michael Phelps, I think is the guy's name. I think it's PHELPS, Michael Phelps. And if I can dig it up, I could probably shoot you a link. And actually, it looks like there's a link coming through from Justin Goodearth here on the YouTube channel. Anyway, I'm babbling on. Let's get on down to KD2 TQS. Ken. Oh, calcium DIY.
There's a sudden 5-degree change, but I'm also swiveling back and forth in the chair, so I may have lost my reference point. Other than that, not much going on. Back to that.
Alright, well, that explains why time is going faster then. And I guess we're back down to Bob, KD2RFI. I do have a question for you, Bob. How are your bees doing? Actually, a couple of questions. How are your bees doing, and how are you healing up from your surgery? That's okay, Justin. I'm always trying to do 20 things at once.
No, I'm doing absolutely spectacular. I don't know if I've said it before.
Biodynamics.com. Thanks, YT.
One of the best surgeries I've ever had. I've heard horror stories of people in immense pain and swelling and discomfort for weeks on end. And I had 2 different procedures done. And I don't know, it's the best surgery I've ever had. I've had this same type of surgery done before, and I just remember immense pain, a lot of narcotics to ease the pain, everything else. This time around, just a little discomfort. When I moved or whatever, initially after 3 days, I was ready to run again. Although,
Quality.
So luckily, knock on wood, and I'm good in that regard. So I go back to work this Thursday, so I'm just dying to get back to work. I'm tired of sitting still. So, although it's kind of a negotiation of me going back this Thursday. It's kind of 2 weeks earlier. He wanted me to, but I said 4. He said no. I said, how about 6? He said, fine. You know, one of those deals. So, no, doing real good, CJ. Thanks. Let me let it drop a second. Right, and as for the bees, they seem to be doing really well. I have, I don't know if last time I talked to you, I did lose one colony. They seem to have absconded real late in the summer, early fall possibly. They just got up and left, which is really weird. It was a wild colony that I took out of the house, cut out from, I think about 3 years ago I did it. So it was one of my better hives. Good honey producers, it's just good overall strong hives. So I'm not sure what prompted them to leave. So unfortunately, and I still got the wild colony, I believe. I got in a swarm box. I'm pretty sure it's a wild colony. This is a real small swarm, unless it was just one of mine that decided to stay close. They're still hanging in a tree behind the house, so I gotta do something with them in the spring or figure out some way to insulate them and just leave them where they are for now. I just really haven't decided what I'm gonna do with that, but as soon as I'm up moving around again, I'll
that's well worth checking out.
Other than that, everyone looking good, and
Nice.
we're looking like a good year. Now, if only I could find cannon jars to put honey in. That I have 350 pounds of honey sitting in my basement right now in 5-gallon pails with nothing to jar it up in. One more quick question, DJ, before I tie this up too long. One of those trees we were discussing, I'm thinking about it, is loose. The root balls just kind of wobbling. It never really stabilized in the soil too well for whatever reason. What are my options? I don't want to put a lot more soil on top of it, obviously, but then I could basically choke the tree out. What are my options? I have 3 stakes around it right now with a loose wrap, just trying to keep it stabilized and upright and vertical. But if I take those stakes out, the tree's just going to probably just fall over. So, any recommendations?
Yeah, I would say on the loose tree, I would say keep the stakes on it. I would put some more soil around the root ball and kind of tamp it in, kind of press it in, firm it in to kind of help set that soil. It sounds like that soil around the root ball didn't pack up well, and you know, that'll leave air spots in there, and that'll kind of mess up the root system a little bit. So I would just fill enough till you're level with the ground and tamp it in good, you know, just with your foot. Just kind of tamp around it, and that should help firm it up. I'd keep the stakes on it probably for a couple of years. Just be careful that your anchor supports on the tree don't grow into the bark on you. Yeah, that's what I would say on that. And I was supposed to pass you a message that Williams Lumber has canning jars in stock, and I dropped the ball and forgot to pass it to you, so I apologize for that. Sounds like your bees did really well this year. That's awesome, and hey, you can't help it, man. Sometimes one absconds. I've fed, let's see, about 19 pounds of sugar so far on mine this fall, and actually was really glad to have this warm weather opportunity to give them a little more back feed before we go into the cold weather. So I'll just put it back to you for further comment or question, and then we'll carry on down the list. This is KD2 IIN Net Control for the Sunday night All Things Natural Net.
KD2 RFI, just a real quick response, and we'll send it right on down. I appreciate that advice on the trees. I'll try that. I'm just afraid of putting too much soil on. I know you don't want to go past that knot per se. I don't know the technical term for it. Yeah. But as for the bees, I was going to stop feeding them, and then we got this 60-degree weather rolled in. I said, you know what, as long as they're still taking it, I'm going to keep putting it on. So I made another batch of sugar water for them, and I'm going to keep feeding them until it gets too cold, because there's really nothing out there. So hopefully if I'm giving them a little something, they're either packing it away or they're eating it in lieu of their inventory. So hopefully it works out well. All right, send it back to you. KD2 R5 at the net.
All right, very good. good. Yeah, I'm actually running out of. I'm almost out of a 25-pound bag of sugar, and I'm kind of like, okay, we need the cold weather to come in now. I don't want to have to keep buying sugar. This time of year is sort of expensive. I really don't need another thing to have to divert funding to. But if the warmth continues, yeah, I'm gonna have to keep some kind of feed on. I don't want them burning their honey reserves before we ever even get into the cold weather. Was something else I was gonna say. I forget what now. Oh well. I guess we'll pick it up on the next round. Alright, this is KD2 and Control for the Sunday Night All Things Natural Net. We'll roll on down to Rob, W2, RWS.
Nothing here. I'm listening, but no, nothing to contribute. Thanks. Pass.
Alright, very good. Let's see, Dave's checked out. So we're back to Ken, KD2, TQS. How much movement do we have?
Negative 23. I hope it's just because I've been changing my position. That's all I got.
I hope so too. Otherwise, I think we would be expecting earthquakes and volcanoes and tsunamis. Alright, I guess we're back down to Bob, KD2, RFI.
I think the last time the stars moved that much on me, it was a bonfire and a few too many adult beverages in the mix. KD2 RFI. No, I appreciate it. I think that's about all I have.
Talk about that next
Like I said, I was real happy to find that pile of dirt that's looking really good. I'm going to wind up doing some leveling around the area, and I got to redo a retaining wall, so I got to rent an excavator to do that. Not looking forward to that, because that's going to be an expense, but at least then I'll have enough topsoil to do it. I won't have to buy topsoil in the event that there's a lot of crud underneath where I'm redoing. So next year's project, next year, I'm already thinking ahead of a year. It's not good. And then I have another pile, which I kind of dug into all the way at the back of my property, which looks like good soil too, which is a long way to carry it one bucket at a time in tractor. So to find a small dump trailer or something to drag all the way back there to bring it back where I need it. But, you know, I got the rest of my life to figure out what I want to do. So
yeah,
we're all good
for
there.
sure.
All right, KD2 RFI, back in it.
Alright, very good. And I have a comment here from YTFP Chris. Well, you know you're a gardener or farmer when you get excited about finding a pile of dirt, and I share that sentiment. Very good. Well, good to hear from you, Bob, and glad you're healing up and getting ready to get back to work and getting ready for fall. And I hear you. Yeah. I'm probably in my head. There's probably 10 years of projects ahead of me, and I try to filter them so I'm not even thinking about them until they're down into at least the 1 year or less ahead mark. So I totally can relate. All right, I guess we'll roll on down to Rob, W2 RWS, if he has anything, and then we'll go ahead and wrap the net up shortly. We'll do one last round after Rob.
The excavator. Love to know where you're going to rent it from. I'm looking for a good price, and I'm wondering what the learning curve is on it. I've been watching YouTube videos trying to figure it out. I know I'm not going to be an expert, but I don't need to do anything quick. I do have to do some excavations for a foundation. I'm wondering about your thoughts.
You guys can go right ahead, direct.
KD2 RFI. Well, it's all pretty much hand-eye coordination. If you've ever driven a backhoe or skid steer or any type of equipment like that, or heck, even nowadays kids with video games, it's all yank levers and see what happens. And that's kind of how I learned. I'm pretty much self-taught. I did have a job years ago working at a sawmill to take logs in and cut them down to rough cut lumber and send them off to be finished. And all of a sudden one day, boss came out and said, "Hey, you ever run a loader before?" I said, "No, sir." He said, "Well, you won't be able to say that tomorrow. Get up in there and we need logs carried over and load them up." Never run a loader, pallet forks, anything like that. And here I got a loader that's probably half the size of my house. And I climbed up in and just started pushing buttons, turning switches. My only
You'll need a little more
probably
precision.
want a little bit bigger of an excavator. And,
Yep.
obviously the bigger they get, the more expensive they get. Home Depot, I think, rents a mini excavator you can tow behind a half-ton truck. It's probably only like 4 foot wide track. I rented it before to dig electric lines. It did wonders. I think that's about $300 a day.
Oh, that's not bad.
I'm up in Greene County, up in Catskill. We got a rental place up here, has I think it's about a, I'm not sure how big of a machine it is. I know they go by tons. I think it's about a 10-ton machine. It's a good-sized machine. Definitely can't tow my truck. But it's about $650 a day. And generally, with anything with rental, if it's $650 a day, but you want it for a week, figure 3 days rate is what you get it for a week. If you want it for a month, figure 3 weeks rate. So it's kind of goes up incrementally like that in a sense. So hopefully that helps. They're not cheap, but it's definitely something I got to plan ahead to do. But saves a lot of back-breaking work. Send it back, Kitty.
Appreciate all the support, YT. I probably should have wrenched you and Justin up months ago, but I didn't think of it. But appreciate the support. You're ready, Rob?
One thing I was going to mention is I do have to scrape to make a roadway, and I was going to put some 3/4 inch, I guess it's called number 4, down. I was going to put some weed fabric, and I'm not sure if I need that honeycomb stuff to keep the gravel in place. I know also I have to take some roots out because I don't want them in the roadway, and I'm a little worried about the trees, but I'm not quite sure what I need to do.
Kitty 2 RFI. Yeah, I'm not, I definitely couldn't advise you 100%. I'm definitely not a contractor per se. It's
Always,
kind
Justin.
of a homegrown contractor, I guess.
Appreciate the community.
I got a stone driveway that was pre-established.
All you guys.
I don't think there's
Thank you for your
anything
support
under it.
and your input.
Honestly, if you keep pouring stone into it, it's eventually going to settle out at some point. But if you do stone driveway, whether you have it mat down or you just put it right on top of the soil, it's going to compact, it's going to push around. You're going to need maintenance with it eventually.
Yep.
Two of the best things I've found is if you got property that size, I definitely recommend buying a tractor. Tractors
Yep.
are wonderful. And quite often, the manufacturers run 0% APR with zero money down, and
Yep.
it's or throw some money down on top of it, just make the payments easier. You know, it's one of those machines you're always going to use. You can pick them up used cheap enough.
Yep.
So a couple tractor with a box blade with some set of teeth on it,
Yes.
or a
The anti-chiropractor.
land levelers now, which is really nice for smoothing things out. Makes quick work of stone driveways. So if you want something for your specific needs, definitely that's something we've got to talk to somebody more in depth about, especially with the concern in the driveway, and depends exactly what you want to do to it. Kitty 2 RFI, set it back.
I was also worried about those roots in trees. Any comment, Net Control?
If you got roots or trees under where you're going to put a drive, you got to get them out of there because they'll rot down and things will sink in on you later. That's the one thing. And the other thing is, if you're putting down crushed item 4, I definitely would put that fabric down unless you're on rock or gravel already. If you got clay or soft soil or any kind of soil that isn't like a real hard, high rock content soil, you're going to need that fabric because otherwise, basically the crushed item 4 will tend to sink in and blend with the subsoil underneath it over time. So that's my 2 cents on it. KD2, Ian.
That's a weed blocker, you're saying?
No, this is specifically for driveways. It's probably the same material as the weed blocker, but it's designed basically just to keep your your crushed item 4 on top of your soil rather than blending into your soil. So you don't end up with a mix of, like, say if your subsoil is clay, you'd end up with a mix of your subsoil and your crushed item 4 fill. Over time, those will blend in as you drive back and forth over it, and it freezes and thaws and wets and dries. So you're just trying to keep that layer on top and uniform.
Got it, thanks.
All right, very good. And we'll just roll back through real quick. KD2, TQS, Ken, any final comments for the net?
Star. White. Link. White horizontal. I'll get back to you on that one later.
All right, well, if they want to take you back to their home planet, tell them no until they sign a contract with you. You don't want to get into anything you don't know what you're getting into. And KD2 RFI, final comments for the net.
Stay away from the light. Stay away from the light. KD2 RFI. Have a good night, everyone.
All right, very good. And RFI, that Biodynamics Now link is in the chat here on the YouTube, and I can mail it to you if you want. And Rob, any final comments of the net? W2RWS.
No, I'm good, thanks.
Yeah, that's what I do too. All right, very good. At this time, KD2IN closes the Sunday night All Things Natural Net. This has been a session of the Sunday night All Things Natural Net, sponsored by the Overlook Mountain Amateur Radio Club, located in beautiful Ulster County, New York. If you want to find out more about our club, you can always visit our website at www.omarcclub.org. That's whiskey, whiskey, whiskey. Oscar Mike, Alpha Romeo, Charlie, Charlie, Lima, Uniform Bravo. Oscar Romeo Golf. Thanks to all those who participated. Greatly appreciated. Other announcements. Let's see. Thursday night is the Thursday Night Net, run at 8 p.m. That's run by Dave, K2JLV, whom you heard earlier this evening. That is an awesome net. Lots of conversation about amateur radio, DMR, Raspberry Pi, computers, HF antenna design, and so much more. So I encourage you to check that out. And then, of course, we have the daily nets at 8:35 a.m. and 6:30 p.m. here as well. I encourage you to check those out as well. Wonderful community here in the Overlook Mountain Amateur Radio Club. Thanks to everyone who participated tonight. This is KD2 IN73, inviting you to join us again next week. The net is officially closed and this repeater is back under regular amateur use. KD2 IIN will be cleared. Boop, boop. Thank you, everyone. I'm going to transition out because the portal's about to start directly. And let's see. Well, let me transition and then I'll read your final comments.
night terrors, and I hope you're all ready to get terrified, because that's what I'm here to do, or at least to entertain you as much as possible. You might not be that easily scared, so maybe you'll just be entertained, or you'll just be whatever you choose to do. Thanks for being here. It's always a pleasure to see you guys. I love the hellos when the show starts. It's like this reunion every time the show starts, and everybody's saying, hey, how you doing? And the chat room is really like a collection of friends that have formed this really cool community. So it's just always, and I sincerely mean it when I say it's really humbling, because it is. You guys have created this home, and I'm honored that you're here. So thank you so much for that, and I hope you enjoyed the shows too. Because the chat really does have a life of its own. It's pretty awesome. But a bunch of wonderful people, and I'm very honored to have you amongst me. So throughout the course of our show tonight, obviously the phones will be on. That's kind of my caveat for every show, as long as we don't have a guest. But I'm always happy to hear from you guys. So if you've got paranormal stories of your own that you'd like to share, by all means, call in. I'd love to hear from you. The number for the show is 720-923-0500. Again, 720-923-0500. Oh my God. I said it perfectly the first time, and somehow I screwed up the second time. Go figure, but, I can pull some magic out of that. That's all I'm saying. I don't know many other people that can do that quite as well as I do it, but there you go, folks. This is always live and unrehearsed here on the Paranormal Portal. I don't always know what I'm doing, but I'm glad to be here doing it, and I do it as well as I know how. So that makes any sense at all, and that's fantastic. But these are the night terrors. If you're new to the show, these are our shorter format Paranormal Portals, about an hour long, and we generally cover ghostly encounters, people having real up-close and personal experiences with spirits, or ghosts, or beings, or entities, or whatever you want to call them. But pretty cool stories. Generally, we have some excellent ones, and you guys, of course, always tend to call in and share things on the shows as well, which is amazing. The new